Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the learners of economic growth and development. We are conducting the first live session now. I encourage all learners to post questions on the YouTube live session. If you have joined through the Microsoft Teams, you may post questions on the Teams chat group as well. Just to sort of recall what we have done in this course, as you all know, this is a 20 hours course on growth and development. And this course has been introduced at an introductory level, at a basic level, to students who are from various backgrounds, who are getting introduced to the topics of economics, particularly centered around the issues of growth and development. I have designed 20 hours of lectures in this course, and this has been divided into 23 separate lectures. In the first 14 lectures, I take up the basic concepts of growth and development. I also focus on the theories of growth and development. And in this part, to engage the learners with real life issues, with issues of contemporary relevance, I have also taken 2 general lectures on global north and south divide, in which I'm focusing on the importance of looking at the political categorizations of global north and global south, and why it is important for us to understand the historical relevance of these 2 formations. In another general lecture on this part, I also focus on economic growth and public support, where I highlight the performance of countries where there is a growth-mediated strategy of development, and countries where there are support-mediated strategies of development. I hope the learners have drawn meaningful conclusions out of those general lectures, and it will help the learners in engaging in real-life issues. The rest of the 9 lectures in the course, I have focused on human development, where I have focused on differences between different approaches to studying development. I have also discussed the issue of multidimensional poverty, gender budgeting, and gender-based approaches to development. Now, in this context, let me also remind the learners that the very basic aim of this course is to familiarize the students of social sciences to the various theories, debates, and arguments surrounding growth and development. And any student of social science without any degree of exposure to economic concepts should ideally find this course very useful. And as I have already mentioned, this is designed at an entry level. So with this background, let me now invite the learners to post questions to me. There is a question that I have received on the Google Drive about exams, whether there would be MCQ questions and so on. So as you may have already seen the quizzes as well as the earlier sessions exam patterns, we are following MCQ questions. So I would suggest all learners to please go through the slides very carefully, the video lectures. We never ask questions beyond the slides that have been shared with all of you. Also, the transcripts are available to all of you. Please go through the transcripts carefully. These are like textbooks. So once you read the textbooks, the transcripts, if you read the transcripts well, and if you listen to the video lectures carefully, you will be able to answer all the questions. Since they are multiple choice questions, the questions will be objective type, but of course you will need to read your transcripts and go through your video lectures carefully, because some of the answers you will be able to answer only if you have understood the arguments being made in the course properly. If you want to do a master's in development economics, ideally it should, I am not sure currently in India there are how many masters in development economics are there. Probably there are some institutions who have now begun with a master's in development economics. But yes, this course by itself will not be enough for you to to write entrance exams in development economics. But yes, this course might give you an introduction to how to approach economics. And if you want to apply to masters in development economics in various institutions, I would suggest you go through certain standard entrance textbook. You should approach the way we approach standard entrance textbooks, and you should prepare accordingly. Admit card issues, you will receive updates on the NPTEL portal. Please visit your portal regularly. I am sure the NPTEL office is working overtime to give you all this information. Is there any chance of getting formula-based questions? Even if there are formula-based questions, they would be very straightforward questions. You need to remember your theories particularly, and the formula-based questions will not require any calculations to do, but yes, we might have some questions which may require you to explain the relationships between, let us say, two variables. Assignment, yes, there will be recall questions from assignments as well. That is what the pattern of the question paper is. So there will be some recall questions from the assignments as well. So you must pay attention to the assignments questions as well. Since many of you have joined me now, let me take this liberty to ask you whether as students who have been, or learners who are getting introduced to this course without any introduction to economics, do you now understand the basic differences between the concepts of growth and development, and will you be able to engage yourself in the basic differences between growth and development? Would you like to discuss anything about this? Or why is it important to theoretically approach these concepts of growth and development? Are there any measurement issues associated with these two concepts? Would you like to discuss anything on these lines? Question from current data. You mean the current contemporary databases that are there in India in the form of general awareness? No, there will not be any current data use in that sense, if that is what you mean. But of course, in the course, if we have made use of some data, we may have some questions on that. What exactly is meant by gig economy? How Indian gig economy is different from that of the Western world? Okay, so gig economy is an area of discussion which has now come up in a very big way, which although I have not taken up as a part of this course, definitely forms an important central discussion point of issues of growth and development, particularly in the current economic environment of most countries, whether developed countries or developing countries. Now, gig economy is a terminology that is provided to the platform economy, or all those workers who are engaged in delivery services as a part of online service economy. So you have Uber and Ola, you have Zomato and Swiggy and all of these, and many more, in fact, which we are not aware about. But the online platform is being used for delivery of services. Now, while the online platform provides the technology or the technological support to be able to coordinate resources within the economy, as we call them, because your delivery persons who are delivering food or delivering other services to you at the doorstep are basically labor within the economy, right? And with the little introduction that you have had to these economic concepts, you would know that we consider them as resources within the economy. So the gig economy basically makes use of large numbers of labor resources to be able to continue with this kind of services. And the gig economy, when we study gig economy, we don't just study labor. Of course, we study a whole gamut of services, because there's a lot of value addition in these services. It's not just about a service which is being delivered, but it's also about the entire ecosystem of how this platform economy is functioning. We talk about labor wages, we talk about the kinds of goods and services that are being delivered to the consumers. So there is a supply side of the gig economy, there is a demand side of the gig economy. So yes, this is mostly what we refer to gig economy. And yes, it is different than what it is in the Western world and the developing countries. Although you would see that there's a lot of continuity in terms of the templates of what we use in the Western world and the developing countries. But of course, the issues are very different, because in the developing countries, we have a whole lot of social issues that are associated with the workers who are employed within the gig economy. This is a very important question that you have raised. This is not the right platform to be discussed currently, but maybe in the future versions of the course, we can add discussions on the gig economy to such courses. This is definitely falls within the scope of this course. In future, maybe we can update this. As I have taken this course, Priya Nima is asking if I've taken this course as my elective paper, how do grades will be transferred? Priyal, I would request you to please post this question on the portal. I'll forward it to the NPTEL staff. Our TAs will forward them, and then we will have this question answered. I will not be able to answer this question to you now, but I'll support you and give you your, we'll advise. Hi, am I still online? Am I audible? Okay, so as I said, Madhu, we will have it answered by the NPTEL staff. Please put it on the portal. Any graph-based questions, like precisely, since these are MCQ questions, the graphs may not be there, but you may have to recall the graphs if there are graphs to be able to answer your questions. You have not enrolled for the course, but can I still attend the lectures? Since the lectures are readily available on YouTube, I think you should be able to listen to the lectures. I don't see any problem with that. These are massive open online courses meant for learners all around the world, so I don't see any problem with you accessing the lectures. If you have a stable internet connection, you should be able to do that. There will be no subjective questions in the exam, only MCQ questions. Central University, Himachal, Joseph's College, Tamil Nadu, graduate in economics. Okay, thank you. Thank you for informing me. You're a research scholar. Okay, and what is your area of research, Neha? Learners, if there are any other questions on the course, please also post those questions. We still have a lot of time for the live interaction. Please make use of this opportunity to pose questions. Regarding admit cards, you will all be informed about your admit cards in time. The NPTEL office will write to you. One Indian and foreign author books for development economics. There are many textbooks for development economics, but there are a few standard textbooks that we follow. For Indian Indian author in development economics, I would suggest that you refer to Debraj Ray. This is one that we follow generally. And we are still working out textbooks that can be followed by Indian authors. But that's one book that I think I have referred to in the course outline as well. There is a book which is called the Handbook of Development Economics by Behrman, Chenery, and Hollis and Srinivasan. That's one book that many of us use regularly. That is also a book that you can read. It's a foreign author book. And there are many more books that I would suggest. It's often important that you read original books rather than just textbooks. But of course, I understand as beginners into the field of economics, you may want to study textbooks. But there is a book that I have mentioned in the reading list by Sakiko Fukudapar and Shivakumar, which is on readings in human development. That is an excellent book that some of you should read. Michael Todaro and Smith is a textbook in economic development, which we continue to use in most institutions in India. There is a book by Abu Saleh Sharif and Maitri Krishna Raj on states, market, and inequalities. That's a book that I have also mentioned in the reading list. There's a book by Amartya Sen titled Growth Economics, Selected Readings, which I have also mentioned. And the UNDP reports on human development, particularly the human development reports of 1990 and 1995, are excellent reading materials for any student of development. And that is something that you all must strive to read. And the best part about the UNDP human development reports is that they are all available online free of cost, and you should all be able to access them. If India is a mixed economy, if it's possible to move on to private sector. Well, this is, as you rightly said, India is a mixed economy. We have a mix of both the private and the public sector. And the question that you're asking, possibility to move on to private sector, of course, we are seeing increased privatization since the 1990s. And that is something that I have, I think, covered extensively in the course. The entire debate on global north and global south, globalization, and some of the associated effects of globalization and privatization has been extensively covered in this course. So yes, we have already moved towards more of privatization. But what are the advantages and disadvantages of this is a matter of discussion and debate. And this is something that I would encourage you learners to engage in. Whether privatization is good for the economy, whether more of the public sector is good for the economy, and what are the economic arguments in favor or against privatization or the existence of the public sector. This is something that you must engage in. What is the difference between utilitarian and capability approach of development? So when you go through the course, you will realize that this is one of the basic points of distinction between different approaches to economic development. So for a very long period of time, we followed the dominant paradigm, in fact, in economic development is that of the utilitarian approach, where the basic idea is that we aspire for things that have utility, right? And and as you all know, in economics we consider utility to be measurable, whether you can attach some value to it and measure it, or whether you rank your utility in terms of your satisfaction. We tend to sort of say that we can measure utility. So utilitarian approach basically tells us that everything that has utility or can be measured in terms of satisfaction is important for us. But the capability approach, and which is where the utilitarian approaches puts a lot of premium on income-based approaches. So if the incomes of the country are rising, then it's a good thing, right? But the capability approach comes in and says that there are possibilities that incomes might not translate to better outcomes of development. So which is where, the second general lecture on growth mediated strategies and public support mediated strategies of development focused on, where we are saying that, countries may have increased incomes over a period of time, but those incomes may not have translated into positive development outcomes. So what then is necessary, whether you following utilitarian approaches to development can give us the desired results, or need we do something more? So the capability approach comes in and actually talks about the importance of equality of opportunities. It talks about the entitlement set of people. How can we achieve well-being among people? Can we achieve well-being only by focusing on incomes or by increasing capabilities of people? Another way of looking at it is opportunities of people. So suppose, let us say I have enough incomes, but I am not spending that income on the well-being of my children. I am not spending that income on the well-being on the health of my family members or of myself. Then obviously it will not translate into better outcomes, right? But the capability approach comes in and says that income is all right, but we also need to have other instruments of development. For example, I need to be educated. I need to have good health. I need to be able to go around freely in public places so that I can have more exposure and experience of the real world, so that my capabilities increase and I can contribute to my own development. Okay. So this, in very simple terms, I have distinguished between these two approaches. But of course, when we study about utilitarianism, basic needs approach, I have also discussed BNA in the course. When we discuss about these approaches, one of the reasons why we discuss about these approaches is because we are always interested in metrics of development, right? We are talking about GDP, we are talking about HDI, we are talking about MPI, we are talking about various other indices that I have discussed, like PQLI and things like that. Today, not just Human Development Index, we are also talking about Augmented Human Development Index, AHDI, where we are talking about what has been the historical growth, historical development of different countries, and how historical development of different countries has led to their current state of growth and development, right? So the reason why we are looking at these different approaches is because when we look at different approaches, different metrics come about. And then, it's a matter of debate and discussion, which metric is more important. India is the 5th largest economy in the world, but we are in 134th rank in HDI. Why growth is good? What about development? As I said, as I have been discussing in the lecture, that incomes may not necessarily translate into development outcomes, because there is the issue of redistribution. There is the issue of distribution of income. I did mention about inequality adjusted human development index and inequality of incomes, right? So we may have increased incomes, but we may also have increased inequality. So one of the examples that we often take in the classroom is, you think about two countries where there are 100 people each in both the countries, and where the average incomes of 100 people is 1,000 rupees in one country, which means that they are all earning about close to 1,000 rupees. But in country B, let's say only 10 people earn 10,000 rupees, and the rest earn less than that, which is a better thing, which is a better country to be in. So obviously, when you are in a country where your averages are very high, where your average income is very high, meaning that, there is a lot of redistribution within the economy, then obviously you tend to have better outcomes. But when you tend to live in a country where there is inequality, then obviously your development outcomes will also suffer. So one of the reasons that has been widely discussed and deliberated is that we live in a very unequal country where there are some sections of the population that earns very high incomes and have very high own assets. The land distribution is unequal in the country, and there are vast sections of population who do not have access to regular incomes and are a part of the informal sector, and so on and so forth. So under these circumstances, although incomes may rise, development outcomes may not show good results. I think if there are not any more questions, we could end the live interaction here. And we still have a second interaction coming up. How is, do you mean multidimensional poverty index? Is that what you're asking? I cannot guarantee you if this paper will be helpful for your UPSC examination, because that is not the purpose of this course. This course has been introduced for for colleges and for university learners, also people from the industry. So please utilize it for your degrees. If NPTEL courses are admitted to your system. However, I will not be able to promise if this course will be helpful for civil services examination. But if you can draw some inspiration from it, it would be it's useful. How did India overcome from the global economic crisis of 2008? Now, the global economic crisis, if you remember, was mostly a financial crisis that affected many developed countries of the world. And the Indian financial system was more or less insulated from the global economic crisis of 2008. There were, of course, related effects, but the Indian economy was fairly unaffected during the economic crisis of 2000, the global crisis of 2008. In fact, it was because it started as a housing crisis in Iceland and some of the and America and so on and so forth. I would suggest you do some readings on the financial crisis of 2008 and the relative insulation of India's financial system from the 2008 economic crisis to follow up more on that discussion. How is MPI different from traditional views on poverty? Certainly, it is very different from the traditional views on poverty, because the traditional views on poverty had a very utilitarian approach to understanding poverty, and therefore the focus was more on incomes. Therefore, you would see that before the 1990s, although there were some attempts at looking at basic needs approach of development and so on and so forth, the dominant focus was on increasing incomes. And therefore, most of the development programs that were introduced across developing countries of the world focused on ensuring that people's incomes increases, without much focus on actually focusing on other dimensions that may lead towards poverty. For example, housing, or let's say medical facilities, or let us say agriculture, extension services in agriculture, and so on and so forth. So MPI was a break from the traditional views of poverty. And why just the traditional views of poverty? Even the narrower definition of Human Development Index. And therefore it came up and said that, look, let's look at 10 indicators, 10 basic indicators that is uniformly found across all countries of the world as important dimensions of development. So yes, multidimensional poverty looks at some of the human development indicators and more. So which is where I recommend all of you to study the Human Development Report, the first Global Human Development Report that came out in 1990, which actually lays down the philosophical foundations of why the dimensions that have been taken up for measurement of HDI was taken up in the first place. So the preface of the first Human Development Report of 1990 is an excellent reading material for all students of development, and that will give you the foundation of these discussions around, the nature of poverty, the views on poverty, the approaches to development, and so on. So please go ahead and read those materials. Certificate, etc. These are not relevant to this course. You could. I don't think this course is meant for certification for employment. This is only a learning material. So please take this as a learning material. This is primarily for students who are in universities, and this is a learning material without any promise of employment. So if there are no further questions, shall we end the live chat here? Since there's a second live session coming up soon, you can prepare more questions for the second session and then we'll take it up from there. Questions related to certifications and exams and admit cards, etc. Please post on the portal and we will forward it to the NPTEL staff in our institute and they will answer those questions. So thank you. It was great chatting with all of you. Suggest some questions behind assignments. The assignments are all there. I think you must have already received the assignments. So the assignment questions are all based upon the video lectures. So I guess the suggestions are right in the videos. Please go through the videos carefully. Can you discuss the questions after the exam regarding the question paper? I'm not sure if that is possible. Regarding the question papers, I'm not sure if that is possible. But if you would like to, ask questions, you could probably, if the portal is accessible to you, you can. What should be the solutions for economic growth for women in rural areas? So this is, if you have looked at the lectures carefully, you would see that, these are all multifaceted aspects, right? When we talk about women in rural areas, when we talk about poverty, that's one of the reasons why we looked at so many approaches why we are discussing about, let's say, capability approach, or we are talking about gender mainstreaming and things like that. So of course there is no one shot solution to growth for women in rural areas. In fact, we are discussing about all of these things at a time where women's employment in India is not very encouraging, where there are a lot of women who are moving out of the labor force altogether. Because of lack of proper employment opportunities, and creating proper employment opportunities for women who are already higher educated has also become a bit of a problem. And of course, this is not just a problem for women in the urban areas, but also in the rural areas. There are a lot of higher educated women in the rural areas also who, due to lack of adequate employment opportunities, are not being able to translate their efforts from education into the employment or labor force. So these are very big issues. These are very big policy issues that social scientists, economists, policymakers are tackling all over India, and not just in India, all over the world, because there are many other developing countries also who are showing similar trajectories as that of in India. So there is no one-shot solution. We will have to engage with these issues, and hopefully, in time, in many years, like we have the 2030 agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals agenda, where women's employment is a very big agenda, and these agendas will continue. Hopefully, we will be able to find some solutions. For those of you who are interested, I am pasting a link to an open access book that is available for use. You could actually download this book, which is somebody asked about textbooks. So there are a lot of open access books these days. This is an open access book in which many topics of economics, microeconomics, particularly, and you would see that microeconomic concepts have a lot of relevance to the questions of growth and development. Some of the macroeconomic perspectives have also been taken up in this book. You can actually download this book and start reading some of the topics from there. It will be very useful. How does the gift policies? I'm not sure about what gift policies you're talking about. Maybe if you can elaborate on that question, I can think about it. So the book that I just posted on the chat box, you would see that chapter 20 of that book actually has a chapter on economic growth. There's chapters on unemployment. There are also chapters on financial markets, the public economy. There's a chapter 15 on poverty and economic inequality. And these are all chapters which are very nicely written in this open access book. It is freely downloadable. There are no copyright issues to downloading this material. So if you're interested, please go through them. Okay, so I think since there are no more questions, we can close this interaction. And it was great chatting with all of you, interacting with all of you. Let us meet in the second live session. So thank you very much.